comes on this stage like they're Jeremy Corbyn. Welcome to the stage. He's going to speak to you now, Mr. Pete Kavanagh.
Go on, Pete.
I've even got the beard. Greetings from Unite the Union in the London Eastern region and our 300,000 members. Our members who are driving the buses over there. Our members who keep the streets of Haringey clean. Our members who empty the bins. Our members who care for the elderly. Yes, we have given physical and financial support for this event today, because fighting racism and fighting fascism is one of our priorities in workplaces. Workplaces are a microcosm of society, after all. They're intense places where there are frictions and tensions, and part of the key role of a trade union is to regulate relationships in the workplace and demand dignity and respect for all workers. There's a thread, of course, that runs and links the past with the present and the future, and that's so important for all of us. We have to learn from our achievements as well as our mistakes. Our history in the trade union movement is about struggle. It is about fighting for justice and dignity, respect, equality and fairness, and yes, fighting fascism and racism. Today is multi-dimensional. It's about remembering a key part of our local history here in Wood Green. It's also part of celebrating the diversity of our Haringey, a fascist-free zone. It's also about a warning that it can re-emerge again. What happened in the 30s, what happened in the 1970s, it's all too possible that it can happen once again. I've been told, given clear instructions to avoid party political references. So all I'm going to say is, as we stand here in the April sunshine, I'm already looking forward to the end of May in June. But we can't avoid politics. We can't avoid fighting fascism and fighting racism without a context of political and economic background. Whether in the 1930s or in the 1970s or here in 2017, the presence of grinding poverty, the presence of growing inequality provides the compost within which fascism thrives. And that inequality today manifests itself with precarious or no employment. It manifests itself by the sanction benefits, the disgusting and disgraceful sanction benefits that this government is imposing upon the most vulnerable people in our society. It manifests itself on the attacks on our health service and our education service. And of course it manifests itself in the housing crisis. And in all this, that's when the rats feel free to slink out of their sewers. When they smell a decomposing society, they come slinking out and they try and spread their hatred, their intolerance, their division and their violence. In the 1930s, of course, it was the black shirts in the East End terrorising and intimidating the Jewish community. In the 70s, with their Union Jacks and their jack boots, they tried to intimidate and march through multicultural societies like the one that we've created here in Haringey. And today in France, of course, there's a very real prospect of Marine Le Pen, the fascist National Front leader, getting through to the next round of the election in that country. And yesterday in Cologne, the fascist party, Alternative for Deutschland, thankfully was met by resistance from 50,000 people. Wherever and whenever the far right feel the confidence to spread that hatred and intolerance, as Jeremy said, there can be no compromise, no halfway houses. We must link arms in our communities, in our workplaces, and stand up to that fascism and racism. I'm just going to go back to 1977 finally. We've all got our own memories and our own stories about standing up to racism, whether it's in an individual brave act or in a collective action like what we saw here in 1977. For me, the most appropriate memory which I want to share with you today was a friend of mine, a friend of many of us here today, called Leon, who was there in 1977. He was right in the front of that resistance, right on the front line. And I discovered that in the last weeks before he died in March. A friend of his told me that he was there on that day. Seema phoned me 2 days later and said, can I speak at the 40th anniversary of the fight back against fascism in Wood Green? I said, I'll be delighted to do that. And I've realised then that our friend Leon, who was 51 years old when he died last month, must have been 11 years old when he stood on the front line fighting the fascists. And I'm sure he didn't do that because his political consciousness had developed. That happened later. But he was there. He took a stand. He stopped the fascist marching that day with the other 3,000. I want to say thank you to the 3,000 people that prevented the fascists that day. And I want to say thank you to Leon.